financial problems, elder law, criminal law, tax problems, business matters, divorce, personal injury, bankruptcy, your life, your reality. Life is complicated. There is the law and there is reality. Welcome to Law and Reality, sponsored by THAV GROSS. Now here's your host, Ken Gross.
Welcome to this segment of Law and Reality. Today's topic is don't let credit card debt destroy your future. Ditch it with Chapter 7. And speaking of Chapter 7, Brian Small.
Good morning, Ken. A pleasure to be here this
See, you're
morning.
sporting a sports shirt there.
I am clearly headed to the golf
Are,
course.
are you being sponsored by Armour?
Under Armour?
Under Armour?
No, I just like the golf shirt. And just because you all
So
decided
they're
to wear
not
ties
providing
and jackets.
they're not providing you golf attire and everything else due to your sports acumen?
No, unfortunately, I am not part of the Live PGA merger that's going on, and I will not be receiving any bonuses and or remuneration from either side of that.
Nor will you have to pay a fee to get back on the PGA Tour as a fine as a result of
And
having
I'm sure
departed.
that this will all shake out. It'll be interesting.
Jeffrey Kirshner.
Morning, Ken. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Yourself?
Happy to be here, as always.
And we have a newcomer, Joe Frizard
Yay!
from Samasco Law.
Good morning.
Hey, Joe, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good to have you here. Pat is out and about these days, huh?
Yeah, probably on the boat or...
Good for Pat. Good for Pat. All right, so let's get to it. All right, so credit card today, CNBC, May of 2023, U.S. credit card debt stands at nearly $1 trillion.
That's a record. It's a record.
It's a 17% increase over last year. 17%. That's the biggest increase ever.
I mentioned this before, but it's even worse than that. Traditionally, at the end of the first quarter of every year, credit card debt drops.
Because of tax refunds?
No, because of tax refunds and people paying down their Christmas bills. This year, for the first time ever in the history of credit cards, it did not drop.
Let me explain to you guys why.
Everyone broke their New Year's resolutions?
No.
Okay.
Better reason. There's this great deal. Interest rates are now only at an average rate of 24.59%. So by not paying those cards, you get to incur 25% interest on the money that you borrowed. So if you only owe $50,000 and you sit tight for a year, it's only going to go up by $12,500. In 7 years, it'll only be $110,000. It's a great deal if you're a bank.
I was going to say, if you're a bank.
And it's a problem. And it's getting worse. It's not getting better. And if you think about it, interest rates were obscene in the credit card industry when the Fed rate was 0 and the rate that we were getting at the bank on a savings account was 0.5%. Even then they were charging what, 14?
It was 0.5%? I don't think it was 0.000001.
You're probably right. Even then, the average credit card rate was 14.5%. So think about that margin, 14% margin. So now if prime is what, 5.5, 6? Okay, that explains why they've bumped, but they've even bumped more in the step ratio. And how long is it going to take? If inflation curbs interest rates, which it will eventually, the time frame for credit card interest rates to come down will be ever so slow. Because why would you reduce the rate if the person's paying it?
Well, it's the same concept as everything is costing more because of inflation. If inflation starts to drop, do you think the price of products is going to drop?
No, they'll just stop increasing.
It just stop increasing it. And that's the point. Everybody will get used to it.
Wait,
and has
you mean
gotten used to it.
You're not planning on dropping the fee that you charge for an estate plan when inflation comes down?
No,
What about for a Chapter 7 bankruptcy?
no.
Do you think that the cost of a car that you're going to buy, they'll drop it from $84,000 to
No.
$69,000?
What cost of a car that I would buy? No.
Well, everyone's
I
saying
would never
cars
buy
are-
an $84,000 car.
So this
They're
is now
saying the cost of cars is going through the roof.
This is now
too,
a
though.
perpetual problem now because of increasing inflation right now.
Well,
With the
remember what's
cost-
supposed to
Credit cards
happen.
been a perpetual problem anyway,
Right, but now
worse.
with everything though, here price of goods have skyrocketed now. Now you have these higher interest rates, and now you have this issue with regard to debt forgiveness. That there's a huge fight in Congress with regard
On
to
the student loans.
on the student loans, and that's a huge issue. That's a huge issue because there's so many people with student loans, and the banks keep giving more money for student loans because tuition increases because
It's a
of
Congress
that.
issue.
Well, tuition
and it's a Supreme
increases
Court issue.
because they will give you student loans.
Correct.
Which means the tuition goes up, which means salaries go up, which means that the student loan value that you can
It was
borrow
abusive.
goes up. If you go back to the availability of student loans when we were in college, in the dark ages, the reality
wait.
is, first of all, it cost what?
You went to college?
Yeah.
Wait, if our ages were the dark ages, is that the really dark ages over there?
Yeah,
I was the area where you could just become a lawyer because you declared it, like Ben Franklin
The reality is what? When we were in school, it was
or John Adams.
$4,000 to $5,000 a year for tuition, room, and board. That's not dating us, but it is. And now it's $25,000 to $30,000 for in-state tuition.
in-state tuition.
Tuition, room, and board.
Right.
So, you're a young guy. What was school? What did it cost when you went to college?
Yeah, talking about near $20,000 a year, law school. You easily spend $100,000 on. I mean, it's a bargain difference. But
A bargain at half the price.
I,
Or twice the price. One of the two.
I did get in when it was reasonable because at Wayne State Law School, I think my tuition was around $5,000 a year, but that was back in '82, '81. I graduated in '82.
1882.
But and everything really skyrocketed after that. It's when we got into the 1990s forward where things really started to get out of control.
All because of the proliferation of student loans.
Yeah, no question. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back and try and figure out what to do about it.
If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
THAV GROSS specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call THAV GROSS.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call THAV GROSS today, 888-235-HELP.
Pat was recommended by a friend who insisted that we really needed a trust. And he said, I know somebody who will do a good job for you.
At Samasco Law, we deal with estate planning and trusts every day.
We had excellent service from Samasco Law. Any questions we had were addressed. Our estate is in order and it had been set up so well that nothing needed to be done. I would just highly recommend Samasco Law.
Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. You can't work. You have to deal with pain and stress. Worse yet, our system for applying for disability benefits seeks to deny you the benefits you're entitled.
Jeff Kirschner is an expert in obtaining disability and workers' compensation benefits for his clients. You need to call Jeff before you apply or after you're denied to get the benefits you deserve. 888-235-HELP. 888-235-HELP. Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call THAV GROSS.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call THAV GROSS. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
THAV GROSS specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
So we're back. All right, so interesting thing before we get into the heart of getting rid of the credit card debt, who are the people that have the greatest amount of credit card debt? And the answer is the 30 to 39-year-olds have, and the 40 to 49-year-olds are the ones that carry the greatest amount of debt. The 18 to 29-year-olds are less, 50 and then up, it's less. So it's kind of interesting the way that that plays out.
Yeah, but the reality is that group, 30 to 60, is carrying the majority of the credit card debt. And only as you head into your retirement years are people starting to try hard to reduce the credit card debt that they carry. But meanwhile, the majority of the 30 to 60-year-olds are carrying their debt at 25% interest. And
it's a killer.
They're stealing from their retirement.
Well, but they have
They're-
to because
it's worse than stealing from their retirement. They are killing their retirement because there's nothing left to contribute. Maybe they're making their employee contribution with the employer match, but they're not putting away anything else because they're spending all the time paying a little bit more than the minimum monthly payment, but then running out of cash between pay periods, using the card so the card never goes down, which we call the credit card trap.
But remember, at that age, you're still not maximizing what your salary is. But at those ages, your expenses are probably as high as they'll ever be because you typically have bought the house and you've got the mortgage. You haven't paid off your mortgage at that point in time.
Kids.
You've
all the
got
ancillaries.
1, 2, 3 kids.
And you can't sell the children.
And the kids only get more expensive. They do not get cheaper
It's not
as
legal to
things
sell
go
them.
on. And so all those huge expenses are in that same time frame, and your salary isn't.
Yeah, the hard thing is your salary finally peaks at the point where your overhead goes down and the kids are done with college. Maybe you've covered a couple weddings, but then the only problem is at that point you're 55, and if you're working for a big company, they're trying to push you out the door because they think you're old.
Right. Joe, I got a question for you. So you're hearing these statistics. You're on the younger side of all of us. Does this scare you? And what are you doing individually to possibly avoid these problems?
So individually, just not run up a big credit card debt, and just be frugal. I mean, I see it all the time at work. You see the people that come in getting their estate plans. You see what they have now. You don't see a lot of people who have a big retirement and a lot of credit card debt. Just you can see the relationship. If they've been spending it on that, they haven't been putting it in retirement.
So if they've got a good retirement, their credit card debt is they're paying them off every month and they've got nothing. If they come in and they got big credit card debt, you're looking at a $20,000 IRA.
If that.
Yeah. That's the way it is. And it's sick. I've gotten to the point where I wasn't that way. We've talked about this before. I ran up a massive amount of credit card debt when I was in that era. I didn't realize the mistake until it wasn't too late, but I'm still angry about all the interest that I paid them for all those years. But now with my kids, when I talk about credit card debt, if they hint at the idea of carrying a balance forward from 1 month and not paying it off, it may shock you that I go ballistic.
What? Oh no. I'm aghast.
It's just become that ingrained in me against allowing that to happen because of the mistake of seeing it happen and experience it. Because I grew up in a family with a father that was very loving and everything else, but he was always in debt. He never paid his taxes on time, never paid anything on time. So everything was about, is there anything available on a credit card? So you kind of grow up schooled that way, and that's the wrong way to grow up, because the problem is you then slip into the same mistakes, and you want to avoid that.
There was a difference too when you were younger. The amount of available credit was proportionate to your income. Today, the amount of available credit to an individual is clearly disproportionate. There's so much more available credit than what most people can afford, and you can open up 5 credit cards and you'll get a $100,000 line of credit by filling it out online, and you'll get it in 20 seconds.
All right, so let's shift gear in terms of getting rid of that credit. But one last comment on that. We haven't seen it yet, but as these balances go up, what's going to happen?
No, it is happening.
They're going to start cutting you off.
I guarantee it is happening. I just had a client call me yesterday, said because their other credit had been harmed, their HELOC got canceled.
HELOC.
The home equity line of credit.
So they just trimmed it down. They canceled it, or they trimmed it down to the amount it's owed.
Cut it.
So it's because they can't borrow on it anymore.
They can't borrow it. Period.
Yeah, which is, we've talked about that before. If you think that's going to happen,
it's happening.
Borrow the money if you need it, even though you're going to have to pay interest on it, and at least you have it as a preserve. Because so many people, financial crisis, people had zero cash and savings in the bank. They had available credit. Banks took away the available credit. Then they had zero savings, zero available credit, and very quickly they had zero jobs. And that is a combination of events that leads to crime. Because what are you going to do to feed your family?
The key here is you got to get rid of the debt.
How do you do it?
Well, let's start with the simplest and easiest, least costly, most effective method. That is Chapter 7 bankruptcy. One and done. You can wipe out your debt, get a fresh start, rehabilitate your credit score relatively quickly, and not be buried with credit card debt at 25% interest. Actually,
can you do
higher
it
than that.
If you own a home, can you file Chapter 7?
You can own a home and file Chapter 7. You can protect a certain amount of equity in the home. You can.
What if I have an IRA?
IRA is 100% protected in Chapter 7.
401k?
Protected 100%.
What about if I have $100,000 in credit card debt?
$100,000 in credit card debt? We're going to wipe it out.
But then what if I have $20,000 of available credit card debt? Can I keep my available credit card debt? Or my available credit card line?
So the answer is maybe. It depends on which credit card. If you have a credit card with one company that doesn't match up with all the others and you file bankruptcy, it's possible that you can even keep that credit card that doesn't have any money owed on it.
More likely than not.
More likely than not, it's going to go away, though.
All right, let's take a break, and then when we come back, run us through the steps of Chapter 7. We'll be back after the break.
Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call THAV GROSS.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call THAV GROSS today, 888-235-HELP. Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. You can't work. You have to deal with pain and stress. Worse yet, our system for applying for disability benefits seeks to deny you the benefits you're entitled. Jeff Kirschner is an expert in obtaining disability and workers' compensation benefits for his clients. You need to call Jeff before you apply or after you're denied to get the benefits you deserve. 888-235-HELP. 888-235-HELP.
Time for announcements. Remember, you can always come in for a free consultation. Just call 888-235-HELP or go online and sign up. Debt issues, tax issues, estate planning issues, business issues, elder law issues with Pat, disability issues with Jeff. Sign up at lawandreality.com or call 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-4357. Also, go online to our website to get our free reports. Resolving tax problems, the real solutions. Bankruptcy, is it right for me? How to save your home from foreclosure. Business formations, loans, and grants for small businesses in Detroit and Michigan. And the Retiree's Guide to Social Security. I want to thank our sponsors, THAV GROSS, Samasco Law, Kirshner Law. Now back to the show.
If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
THAV GROSS specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
I was married for 57 years before my husband died.
Samasco Law had established a trust for them before this happened.
There's so much to do in the beginning, but after about a month, you're kind of alone.
We deal with estate planning and trusts every day.
If you continue to have good support and know that your finances and your estate is in order, that's one thing that's so comforting. I would just highly recommend Samasco Law.
Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call THAV GROSS.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call THAV GROSS. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call THAV GROSS.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call THAV GROSS today, 888-235-HELP. Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
All right, so back to Chapter 7. All right, so how's it work?
So, how does it work? Well, first person comes in and is going to meet with me, and we examine their situation and make sure that they're not going to lose any assets when we file a Chapter 7. We're going to eliminate their debt. We're going to get them that fresh start. And the basics are, does your income equal or exceed your regular household expenses? If it does, you most likely qualify for a Chapter 7 bankruptcy. And that works even for up to like a family of 4 making $120,000, $130,000 a year. People think that they make too much money so they're not eligible for a bankruptcy, but it turns out they really are. And that family of 4 is the one that I see most often with $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 worth of credit card debt that is just killing them. And it's killing their ability to send their kids to college. It's killing their retirement. You have to get rid of the debt.
What if I owe taxes as well?
So income taxes are dischargeable in bankruptcy. There's some ramifications and there's a test to do it, but assuming that the tax came due at least 3 years ago, your tax returns have been filed for at least 2 years, and you haven't been assessed by the IRS in the last 8 months, your income taxes will be dischargeable.
All right, so let me ask you a quick question.
The key is filing them.
Let me ask you a quick question. Suppose I've filed my taxes on time.
Mm-hmm.
I owe $50,000 in taxes from 2019 that I got behind
So
on.
2019 came due in 2020.
I have $100,000 of credit card debt. I'm making $85,000 a year. I'm married with one child. And I have $40,000 of equity in my home.
You're going to qualify for a Chapter 7. You get to keep your house. You get to get rid of the debt.
And I have $100,000 in my IRA.
You get to keep your house. You get to keep your IRA, and you get to get rid of the debt.
I get rid of all the credit card debt?
Credit card debt, the income taxes, everything.
But what if the government filed my taxes for me? I didn't file my taxes. The government filed my income taxes.
So that's a substitute for return. Remember what I just said?
No
you have to file your taxes.
No soup for you.
Right. So the income tax debt would not be dischargeable because you didn't file the return. And so the government says there's no reason to discharge it. It's not a return. You didn't file.
But as long as I filed, even though I haven't paid the taxes, as long as I've filed, I'm okay?
So the key is, no matter who
If you
are.
paid the taxes, you wouldn't owe the money.
This is true.
It's true.
The
But if I filed it...
The key is, when tax time comes around, file your tax returns. I don't care if you owe. It is not a crime to owe money. It's unfortunate that you owe money. It's a crime to not file your tax return.
Plus, when you don't file, you immediately end up getting a 25% penalty.
25% penalty for non-filing,
months.
and there's a 25% penalty for non-payment.
But the non-payment penalty is 0.5% per month, so it's a long period of
And
time.
that all
It's
gets
cheap.
discharged.
It's actually cheaper than credit card interest.
And it gets discharged in bankruptcy versus...
Well, let me ask two important questions. One is, what about the stigma of bankruptcy?
Okay,
I don't want to have a 7 on my forehead the rest of my life.
Oh, can I draw one on? There is no stigma in bankruptcy. The reality is the stigma is owing so much money that you can't afford to put food on your table. That's a stigma.
It's a business strategy.
Yeah, you get rid of that debt, you will redevelop.
Your obligation to your family is to put your finances in order and to protect them and their future, not the future of Bank America.
Can I guess your last question?
Yes.
What about my credit score?
What about it? That was my last question.
So, I personally feel that credit scores are meaningless because if you pay cash for everything, you don't have to worry about a credit score.
It's hard to pay cash for a house.
It is. However, credit scores heal. And the average person after a bankruptcy has a credit score that's 200 points higher a year and a half to 2 years after bankruptcy. So you're back in the high 600s, low 700s. 3-4 years down the road, you could be up to 800 without a problem, as long as you don't do anything to harm your credit on a going forward basis.
Last question. If I make too much money to qualify for a Chapter 7, and I make too much money for a Chapter 13, is there a way to get rid of the credit card debt?
Absolutely.
In 5 seconds or less.
Debt resolution, and that's another show.
Have a great week. We'll be back next week with Law and Reality.